Can you tell me a little bit what the relationship was like between you, your brother Perry, and all your other siblings? What was life like when you were younger?
We had the same father. He was my father's namesake, George Perry Floyd Sr. We had different mothers. He was raised in Houston. I was raised in New York. Due to the family dynamic, we knew about each other. I knew I had an older brother. He knew he had a younger brother. And I knew I had other siblings. Family dynamic, we couldn't really link up as much as we wanted to until due to the 2016 when one of my cousins had a baby shower for her daughter, and my older sister Latanya Floyd, and my brother George came up here to New York. I actually got to meet him face to face for the first time ever. I spoke to him on the phone numerous times, but I actually got to meet him face to face that one time in 2016. And ever since then, it's been like a bond, unbreakable. He finally got to meet his little brother. I finally got to meet my older brother. I got to know about him. He got to know about my father because I was actually raised around my father. So he got to know who he was. He got to understand who he was. We basically bonded in our adulthood. It was wonderful, man, until that tragic day where they took him from me. You know what I'm saying? I often say it took me 30 plus years to actually touch him and bond with him. In less than 4 or 5 years, they took him from me. I may not have been raised with him, but he was still my brother, my blood brother. When we bonded and we was just talking over the internet, it was mostly because he's been through certain things in his life, and he basically wanted to understand certain things about himself. So he actually asked me about our dad, and I was able to break it down to him and tell him what our dad was like and the things he'd been through, the trials and tribulations, the ups and the downs. Not knowing that while I'm telling him about our dad, I'm actually saying some familiar things that's been going on in his life. So when I finished speaking to him, I remember his words loud and clear. He said, "It fits." He said, "Man, little bro, it fits." And I said, "It fits? What you mean?" He was like, "Man, you telling me about dad and some of the same things he was struggling with and dealing with, I'm dealing with." So he was like, I'm glad to know that I'm not alone in this." And I even told him some of my struggles with health and confidence and stuff like that. It also was his struggles. We just got to really talk. Like people see him as a big guy, and and the internet want to put him out there to be a bad person. But when we say gentle giant, that's exactly who my brother was. It was like he was the type to protect his loved ones. But if you really got to know him, he was a gentle giant. He was somebody you could just confide into and just talk to and feel secure. He was that big brother that I always wanted, that I had to get through friends and older cousins. But to know that I was able to bond with my actual blood brother was wonderful. And that's basically what we when we bonded, we basically got through to each other of who we were as George Perry Floyd Sr.'s sons.
So you had struggles in common with your
Yes,
father, and you had
yes,
struggles in common with each other.
yes.
So that's a theme, struggles in common.
My older sisters, Jaja and Tanya, they were actually raised with George. We call him Perry. I call him Perry. Some people call him Floyd. I call him Perry because that's what they used to call my father. And when I hear that name, George Perry Floyd, I think about him, my brother, and my father. So it's a double whammy for me. Latanya and Jaja, those are my two older sisters. Jaja's the oldest. Jaja is more behind the scenes, laid back in the background. So I rarely talk to her, but Latanya is the one that tries to stay in touch with the family, with the Floyd family and everybody. So I always was in contact with her and my baby sister Bridget. I call her baby girl. I remember the day when I went to visit my father. He took me to the house where she was living when she was just born. So I remember holding her in my arms. That's my baby girl. That's my baby sister, Bridget Floyd. But I definitely stayed in contact with them, and I was definitely in contact. Most of the time, I got to go to North Carolina more than Houston, though. Jaja and Natalia was in Houston. Bridget was in North Carolina. The Joneses were like behind the scenes too. They really, because they was on Miss Sissy's side. Now I've heard about Miss Sissy. Like I said, we had separate mothers. I've heard about Miss Sissy. From what I heard, she was a wonderful person, and I wish I would have got a chance to meet her before her passing. I miss her just hearing about her. My sisters used to talk about her. The community used to talk about her, and my mother even knew about her and said she was a wonderful person. The Joneses, I really didn't get to meet them until the funeral services.